I saw a recipe on Pinterest where they had made artisanal no-knead bread, and it sounds right up my alley because the idea of not spending 10-20 minutes kneading the dough is just everything. So that's what I'm gonna make today. It's an artisanal no-knead bread. The original recipe actually uses water, but because I had pumpkin puree just lying around, I decided to use it as well as add some oregano. I adapted this recipe from thekitchen.com because I learned that for baking is not like cooking, regular cooking. For regular cooking, you can actually just wing it and things will turn out right. But for baking, I have learned not to wing it because 90% of the times that I have winged it, things have backfired. The idea behind no knead bread is that you just mix all the ingredients and then you just leave it like that. You should have a sticky dough and it's also a shaggy dough. So basically you just mix everything together and then you just leave it to rise, and then 2 hours later you will see that the dough has formed much better. So mine rose to about double the size 2 hours later, but I proofed it for about 6 hours total. Ideally, once your bread proofs, it should also have holes on the top of the dough so that you know it's proofing properly. So I actually was monitoring mine and I saw there was quite a number of dots on top, so I was happy I was on the right track. I also went ahead to light the jiko so that I get the charcoal hot for the outdoor oven, because we usually bake using an outdoor oven, which is difficult to bake with because it kind of doesn't have a thermometer. You know, with baking you have to know which temperature you're baking your bread at. This one does not have a thermometer, so you don't know what temperature you're baking at. You're basically winging it, yeah. After about 6 hours of proofing the bread, I went ahead to shape it. So ideally you should shape it into a ball so it has that beautiful artisanal bread shape. So I went ahead and did that. I used a lot of flour and this spoon to help me shape it because it was really soft. So I'm not really sure whether when you shape it or when the bread proofs it, the texture becomes easier to work with, but mine was quite soft, so I used a lot of flour and this spoon to shape it. I did put mine through a second rise, which is, I don't know if it's necessary. I just put mine through a second rise because the oven was not ready, but once it was, I shaped it again. And then just for flavor and also so that it looks beautiful, I added pumpkin seeds on top so that when it bakes they toast and become nice and crunchy. I also put a little line on top, just like I see people do when they make sourdough bread. And yeah, I made a very beautiful loaf. It's the most beautiful loaf I've made ever. And then you should ideally bake this bread in a Dutch oven because it has this lid on top that seals moisture and it's really heavy. But because I don't have that, I used a sufuria, and then I also put the lid on top and then put a pan on top so that it weighs down the lid so that the moisture inside the sufuria is maintained so that the bread doesn't dry out, and also so that the bread cooks on the inside. So this is what the oven looks like. You basically bake using makaa. So there's a slot where you can add in the charcoal, and then there's rungs, so there's various tiers on which you can put whatever it is you're baking, and then the walls are insulated, so it basically works as an oven. The only difference is that is the source of the heat, so this uses charcoal as opposed to the regular oven which uses electricity. Now the bread should be cooked in 400 degrees, and as I've said, the oven does not have a thermometer, so you ideally don't know what the temperature inside the oven is. So I just put it on the lowest tier so that it's nearest to the charcoal, and we ideally mimic the high temperature that it needs to cook in. I ended up baking it for about 40-45 minutes, and this is how it turned out. It looked so good, like it turned out better than I actually thought it would. The one thing that backfired was that the baking paper actually stuck to the bread. I am not entirely sure why, but I think it has to do with putting the bread really near the charcoal, so probably the heat was too concentrated at the bottom. Okay, it's kind of dense. It's really soft on the inside and really crusty on the outside, which is what I love. I think I put too much heat. I put it over the fire for too long, so huko chini iko too hard, but it's so soft on the inside. It's so yummy. So karatasi imekata kutoka, but it's okay. Because I am a sucker for fresh hot bread, I went ahead and made some pumpkin soup, toasted a couple of slices, and had this bread with it. So yeah, as always, I will share the recipe down below as well as the recipe from which I adapted it. And thank you for watching this video. Catch you on the next one. Bye!